Hey, take two. We had sound problems, so we're back again. Sorry about that, Jason. Let us know if you can hear us. This is a really exciting show, you all. I've got Jason Kerberg, who is a Republican police officer running for sheriff in Floyd County, and he wants to come on to talk about the fear we have between police and the communities and lessen that. It's so important that we have faith and trust in our system. There are a lot of reasons why we fear police. There's a lot of reasons why cops have fear with their side of the job. And let's just openly talk about it with Jason, who I recently met, and he's very willing to answer hard questions and kind of let us know what it's like to be a police officer, because you've been doing this for a while.
25 years.
25 years. So we're going to meet Jason and we're going to talk about mental health of cops and lessening fear within our communities, which is just so incredibly important. So Jason, thank you for being on. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. And first of all, I want to say thank you for allowing me to come on this show and talk about the hard topics that a lot of police officers or people don't want to talk about. So thank you again for letting me do this.
Thanks for being here.
So just a little bit background about myself. I'm originally from New Albany. I grew up in New Albany, graduated from New Albany High School in 1994. Immediately joined the Marine Corps. I didn't want to go to college at that time, so I wanted to go out there and serve and join the Marine Corps. So in January 1995, I went to Parris Island, South Carolina.
How old were you? In your 20s?
Oh, early, probably 19, maybe 18. 19.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So did that. And after Parris Island, graduated boot camp. I went to Camp Lejeune, North Carolina for my infantry training. And I did also security forces. So after there, I went to Chesapeake, Virginia for security forces training. When I went to my permanent duty station, which was located in Kings Bay, Georgia, it's a nuclear submarine base. So we were there to protect the nuclear subs and the nukes. So after that, I went to my permanent duty station in 29 Palms, California for my infantry unit.
Oh, cool.
So it was out in the middle of the desert, in the middle of nowhere. And like I said, I was looking for the 29 palms, but I think I only seen like two.
It was mostly
So,
desert,
yeah,
huh?
mostly desert. I didn't know where those palms
You're
were.
getting well traveled in your as
Exactly.
a very early
So
age.
when I went to 29 Palms, and then we went to Okinawa, Japan for some jungle training.
Wow,
So keep in mind, this was all during peacetime. So I wasn't in during the war.
that's
This was
good.
pre-war. So we would travel. We traveled to about 7 or 8 different countries, such as Cambodia, Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, different places, and we would train military tactics, things like that. And I was also a hand-to-hand combat instructor, so I would teach them some of those techniques as well. And I can remember some of the best people that I met out there. There was a language barrier and things like that, hard to communicate, but we would have functions and have a great time. But I can remember these little kids bringing out little bowls of chicken fried rice to our fighting holes as we're training. And I don't know if it's because I was so hungry, but that was some of the best chicken fried rice
I
I've ever
bet that
had.
was good. So
Absolutely.
locally made. Oh, that sounds good.
Gave Kanzai a run for his money.
It just seems
So
like a really great way for a man in his like early 20s and late teens to get all this worldly training and meet
oh,
people across the world. And
absolutely, it was so fun. By the time I was 24 years old, I traveled to more places than most people will see in a lifetime.
yeah, I've never been to Japan. That's amazing.
It was fun, good time. I met some of the best people I have ever known in the Marine Corps.
Cool. Thank you for your service. And I'm
No
glad you
problem.
got to serve in peacetime. It sounds a lot nicer.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you came back, and then what did you decide you wanted to
So
do?
I decided I wanted to do a career in law enforcement. So I got a job in a corrections division over in Louisville, Kentucky. It's a place called Corrections Corporation of America. It was a private prison,
Wow.
and that was prior to the jail that they currently have in Jefferson County. So a lot of the people would be transferred to this Corrections Corporation. So I worked there for about a year and a half, and then I decided to transfer to Floyd County, and I got a job in Floyd County Corrections. So I worked down in Floyd County Corrections for about 7 years, and I was a supervisor there as well. And our jail commander that we had back then, he was battling cancer,
Oh,
having a hard time. So he kind of stepped aside. So I kind of helped actually run the jail. So I got a lot of experience and met a lot of people, a lot of inmates and things like that. I made a lot of good connections in the jail.
I would imagine there's like relationship things that go on in the jail. Like you these are human beings in a jail.
Absolutely.
How would
Absolutely.
you treat them in general?
I think that if you had anybody that served during the time that I was there, they would tell you that I was very fair but I was strict. I was
Hmm.
strict. So I wasn't a pushover, but also I would lighten, the mood, and I would joke around with them and cut up with inmates because they are people. People that made mistakes, and they have to pay for their mistakes, but that doesn't mean you have to treat them less human.
Right.
So I would have good relationships, cut up with them, talk to them, but at the same time, I definitely wasn't a pushover.
Right.
I was very strict. I would make them clean their jail cells and stuff like that. And
Well, you're meeting all different types of people too.
oh, absolutely. People from every culture, every place around. So, but like I said, I met a lot of great people there. So then, after about 7 years there in 2007, I applied for the police department and got hired as a police officer. So been a police officer ever since. Since I've been on the Floyd County Sheriff's Department, I've done certain things such as field training officer. I was a field sobriety instructor,
Oh,
DUI
wow.
instructor.
So you taught cops how to spot DUI
Yep.
drivers that were drunk and how to handle that situation.
Different things to look for, different odors, different driving tactics
Right.
that a drunk may do.
Huh.
But basically just teaching them how to do the actually field sobriety test. So
Oh, okay.
I'm certified teaching the officers how to do field sobriety test, things like that. So, and then I've also done stuff as the critical incident team. It's a critical incident stress management team. So I'm on that team, and what that is we respond to, if called out, if there's a critical incident anywhere, plane crash, whatever it may have. It could be a death, a bad car crash where maybe a child died or
Ugh.
people have lost their lives, and the first responders are having a difficult time with that.
Yeah.
So we will meet and talk to the first responders, which we just recently just had one.
Oh, so sorry.
Unfortunately, Floyd County had a
One of my
tragic,
friends was there. Somebody I know. Yeah, so tragic.
very tragic incident. So we just did a briefing on that as well with the first responders.
I just want to say, I know there's a lot of fear around police and cops on the Democrat side, especially.
Mhm.
And I just want everybody to stop and realize these are human beings. You're a human being that's been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
First responders, you're out there. There was a tragedy this week with a high school student from Floyd Central that drowned.
Yes.
And I have a friend that was there and is traumatized from it.
Yes.
And it just because you all are police, it doesn't make you immune to the tragedy that
No.
you're seeing.
Not at all. I mean, I was off during this incident that occurred, so I wasn't there on the scene, but I know officers that were. And in any situation, in any scene, police officers, we go into like an autopilot mode.
Mhm.
So when we get in this mode, we're there just to do a job. We have to
And
make sure
you have to put your emotions
you have
out
to try to put your emotions
so that you can do it.
aside so you can do the
Right.
job.
Right.
But what a lot of police officers are good at is the aftermath. We don't talk about it. And what people don't understand is a police officer may respond to this type of critical incident, and then as soon as that's over, we're still working. Our job still has to go
Yeah,
on.
you don't get to just
So
go and talk and sit down and say
Yeah,
this was
right.
awful.
Our shift isn't over yet. So I may go from the scene where I'm dealing with a tragic incident, and then I have to go to a domestic right away.
In a domestic, you're meaning like a couple is fighting and you have to go split it up.
Yeah,
That happens a lot.
couple
You
that could be fighting.
How many times can you estimate how many times you have gone to a location and a couple is fighting and you've had to get involved? About how many of those have
Oh
you done?
gosh, it's in the hundreds.
Yeah.
A minimum of the hundreds. I mean, that's stuff that we do every single day.
I just want
So-
people to realize you're not getting tons of money. You're not doing this job for the money.
Right.
You're doing this to protect the community. You care about your neighbors, you care about people. I think we've lost that with national news. We've lost that humanity, that these are just human beings doing their best. And yes, some mess up and yes, some abuse their power, but
Absolutely.
most of the time,
So police officers,
doing
we're
your
out
best.
here. The majority of us are good people. Sure, there's I like to think it's less than 1%, but there's bad police officers, just like there's bad doctors and lawyers and anybody in any profession. There's bad people. We have to be able to address those people when they expose themselves, and deal with that. But police officers on a day-to-day basis, like I said, we're expected to wear many hats.
Right.
We're marriage counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists, EMS personnel, animal control people. I
Because a
mean,
lot of times you're the first person on the scene when 911 is called, when there's an emergency, and
absolutely.
you don't always know what you're getting. Sometimes you get some info. I would imagine it's scary. It's
Right.
scary to go in a situation and you don't know who the people are. You don't know what the problem is. Maybe you get a little bit of info, but not much. You don't know whether somebody's injured or fighting or
No,
there's
we have no idea.
violence.
So officer safety is number one. So we have to make sure that we are protected. Like I said, domestics are one of the number one calls for service where police officers can end their lives.
Wow.
People will ambush police. They know they're coming. They will ambush police. So we have to do things in a certain way to make sure we maintain our safety as well. And that's what we need to get the public to understand. Like you said, we do get bad information or very minimal information in our job. We were talking earlier about a scenario that I gave you that maybe a gas station just gets robbed, and there might not any be any information that we receive. We might receive that a male in a red car. I
Mhm.
mean, that's all we get. We got, somebody just robbed a place, a guy driving a red car. So if I'm coming to that scene, I'm on my way there and I bypass a red car with a male driver in it. Of course, we have to stop that car. It meets the description, but it may not be that person.
Right.
The person may not have done it.
Right.
But when I stop that car, I can't just walk up to the car and say, "Hey, buddy, did you just rob this store?" That would be, negligent on my part and
Right.
officer safety issue, big time.
Right.
So obviously, we're going to get that person out at gunpoint,
Hmm.
and we're going to ask that person to step out of the car and get on the ground, and then we're going to handcuff them. At that time is when we're going to say, "Okay, this is the wrong person." But as long as people would comply with the police officer's commands, nothing bad's going to happen. And we're going to explain to them why we stopped them. You know what I mean? And sorry, it was in error, but you met the description. But we appreciate you cooperating. But the problem that arises when people they think that, okay, I'm driving around, and I get it. I'm driving around and I didn't do anything wrong, and now all of a sudden this cop is stopping me. Why is he harassing me?
Right.
And now he's getting me out at gunpoint. I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And so then they want to argue, and that's not the time to argue.
Right.
Because when they get out of the car and they're not complying, the police officer's obviously thinking, well, this is definitely the person, and that's why they're not complying.
Well,
And that's when bad things can happen.
I just appreciate you telling us that, because I don't know. I didn't know before you explained to me, oh, it could be a suspect. It might not, but
Yes.
this would be scary for a few minutes, but you're trying to protect yourself, and this might be the person that committed the crime, that
Right.
robbed the gas station. Um, I just like that you're transparent and you're explaining it to us, because I'm not a cop, so I didn't know this.
Yes.
Yeah, we just have to realize every day when you and the other officers are putting on your uniform and your badge, you're putting your life on the line. And that's scary. And I want to say thank you. I appreciate that you're protecting our community. It's sad because of social media and because of the political divide that a lot of my news sources portray cops as bad. And I know that's not true, because I have friends that are cops, and every interaction I've had with local police is good. Part of that's because of who I am, and I'm a good communicator, and I'm respectful to cops when they pull me over or whatever. But also it's because the majority of you all are really good people trying to do your best. You're not perfect.
No. We try to be. People don't hear about the good things we do on a daily basis.
Can you tell us some
Um,
of the good things you do in your
police
job?
officers on a daily basis, we get called to your dog might get loose. People call the police all the time for dogs getting loose. I mean, I've been out there chasing dogs down, and even cows.
That's so
I mean,
funny.
cows get out and stuff like that. We come help. We help round them up. We do little things like that. Stopping on the side of the road when it's pouring down
Oh,
rain.
people need help all the
There
time.
may be an old lady that's got a flat tire, and we get out there and change their tire for them. We give people rides to places that break down or go get gas. I mean, it's just little acts of service that we do on a daily basis that goes unnoticed. And people unfortunately hear about the bad things that the cops have done. And yes, there's bad things the cops have done. But that doesn't define every police officer.
I'm sure it's hard. You're trying to do your best. You're not perfect, but you're trying your best to get that news every day about terrible cops.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that that's hard because you're doing everything you can. You're literally putting your life on your line to save us. Um, I bet it's disheartening sometimes.
It is. It does. It kind of hurts your feelings in a way,
And you know,
because
if
you go into a restaurant, and I've seen people don't want to sit next to a police officer in uniform, and they'll make comments, and they'll get up and move, or even coming on this podcast, people were making nasty comments. They don't even know who I am at all. They don't know me as a person, and I'm not a bad person. And I'm here. I want to make good relationships between the police officers and the communities, and I have ways that we can do that. But that's my goal. My goal is to get out there, reach the community, and show people that, hey, we're human too. We're husbands and wives and daughters and sons. We're just like everybody else.
Something I've done since I've gotten into politics, and my goal is to try to help the community. And then I've started Project Next. The whole purpose is to unite our communities. That's why I started Project Next with Tim Peck. When I see a police officer, if they're not busy, because I don't want to bother them, because they're on duty, if they're in their uniform, if they're not busy, I go up and talk to them for a minute, and I thank them for protecting us. I don't think we get that enough.
Yeah.
I also like to find out what they do, so I can have appreciation for it. I always thank the police officer at my kids' schools. I'm thankful they're there.
I will say bother us. It doesn't bother. We like to be bothered. I enjoy when people come up to me and talk to me, whether I'm on duty or not, if I'm busy.
That's good to know, because I don't know if I'm bothering people.
No, come up. I mean, obviously don't do it on a scene. I've actually had people try to talk to me on a traffic stop. You can't do that.
Right.
That's
That makes
officer
sense.
safety. But yeah, if we're just sitting there, in our car working on a report or something, absolutely come up and talk to us. I love to engage with people and answer questions and talk to the community.
I'm going to bring up this fear because we talked about it before we went live, and you had a really good answer. You are running for sheriff, by the way, in Floyd County. The primary is next May, a year and like a week or two away.
Yes.
So next May, you could, if you are a Republican, a registered Republican, or you don't have to be just a registered voter, you go to the primary and you take a Republican ticket, and you can vote for Jason if you want.
Yes.
If you're a Democrat, you can take a Democrat ticket, and then he wouldn't be on there. But if he wins, he would be on the November 2026 ballot.
Right.
So I just want to clear that up.
And I appreciate the votes from both sides. Like I said, I have a sheriff's department to run, and whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, it doesn't matter to me. My goal is to bring everybody together.
That's something we've talked about that I really like about you. I don't like that sheriff is R&D. I don't like that. And I wish people just voted for the best person.
Yes.
And we didn't have the national politics at play, and we didn't just blindly go vote for whoever's got an R or D. I think we should get to know the candidates, the person. Whoever wins for sheriff has a lot of power to protect the county, the community. So I think it's really important that we find out who's going to be on that ballot, and we just don't blindly.
Absolutely. And when I say Republican, Democrat, doesn't matter. What person doesn't want to see a sheriff that can bring people together? What person doesn't want to see a sheriff that can maintain a balanced budget and put more police officers visible on the street to make better relationships with the community? That's my goal.
Your goal and my goal is very similar, and that's why I think we worked when I first called you, or you called me on the phone, and then we met in person. Yeah. We both just care about community, and we don't care about. We hate the division and the fear.
Yes.
And I got some pushback from having you on the show. Did you get a little bit from coming on?
I've got some pushback too.
And if you're watching this and you're a known R or a known D, that doesn't matter, you all. It matters whether they're a good person. And there's a lot of fear there because of our news and our media pushing us away and making us try to fear our neighbors or whatever. And
sure,
this is a genuine, nice person that cares about community. I'm hoping now we can be friends,
Absolutely. And I want to change that fear. And
I like that about you.
Ways that we can do some of the fears to be present in the community. I want to see more police officers actually getting out into the community, meeting with people.
Right.
If you're driving around and you see a kid playing at the park and playing basketball, get out of your car. Go engage with them. Play basketball. Play a game of horse with them or something. Go to a coffee shop. Talk to the people that are sitting there.
So you really promote the police
Community.
officers in that community should get out and meet the people in the
Get out and meet the
community.
policeman.
And then that lessens the fear on both sides because you realize they're a human being that cares about you.
People are only seeing police officers during time of crisis.
Right.
That's the only time they see the officer. Then that's what they associate the officer with, is bad things.
Right.
I don't want to see that. I want to be, yeah, sure, we want to be there in a person's, vulnerable moment in the worst of times. We're there to help them.
Right.
But I also want them to see us interacting with people just to interact. Just getting out of your car, talking to people in the park, or, like I said, I think community events, showing up and just doing things, just engaging with the public, that will make you more approachable.
I met you in person at a gala in New Albany,
Yes, sure
and
did.
that was a nonprofit that supports children and families impacted by addiction and incarceration. And it's such a beautiful thing. And it was really neat to see you there.
Absolutely. And I actually told Suzanne, who runs that organization, that when they have that in the park this summer, I would like to go. I'd like to come engage with the kids and
that's going to be in Harrison County.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I want to go and see it too. Yeah, I'm really excited about that. So you are doing it. You're not just saying the stuff. You're actually are at events, meeting people. You support good organizations. You support community building. You support forgiveness. You're seeing people mess up. You're seeing people getting thrown in jail. Tell me the story that you told me about DUIs. Let's say you pick up a person for a DUI. They're in the back of your car and you're driving them to the station.
So any type of arrest, don't just have to be a DUI. It could be drug related.
Right. Okay.
Anytime I've ever made an arrest, I do not berate the people that I'm arresting. I don't put them in my car and badmouth them and call them names. And what I try to do is mentor them. I put them in my car and have normal conversations. And I'm like, I understand that, you're going to jail for something that you did. It doesn't define you as a person, though. You made a mistake. And what can we do to change the path that you're on?
Right.
I would like to see, the drug addict get help and go to rehabs and different things like that, and just change the path that they're on. It doesn't define who they are, but we can mentor them as police officers.
I like that. I like that you're doing
instead
that.
of downgrading them and making them feel bad. Let's try to lift them up.
It's just not
lift
the
them
version.
up during a bad time.
It's just not the version we're seeing online, which makes me really sad. I wish we were seeing what you're actually doing.
Well, I can honestly say this because when I would make an arrest, I would say 8 to 9 out of 10 people that, even though I locked them up, would always shake my hand, and I would shake their hand. Even if they didn't, I would always extend my hand and say, good luck. I wish you the best of luck. But they would always shake my hand. And what I always heard was, you know what? I appreciate the way you spoke with me. I appreciate how you treated me. Even though you took me to jail, you're locking me up. I appreciate that.
The first time we talked on the phone, you were so honest with me. I was like, oh, you seem different. You seem really wonderful. And I was like, this makes me feel better about our community. You've been serving the community. How long have you been a police officer?
So I've been a police officer for 18 years, but 25 years in law enforcement.
Wow.
Because when you work in the jail, even though it's with the same department, it's a different entity. So the amount of years doesn't count. But I've been with the sheriff's department for 25 years. And then obviously 4 years in the military and a year and a half over in corrections.
I'm just kind of seeing that you care about people.
Yes.
And you understand that people mess up.
Mhm.
And especially people that's lives are hard. You're probably seeing a lot of people where they don't have a ton of money. And when you don't have a ton of money, life is harder.
It is.
You're probably getting a lot of that. And it just seems like you have some empathy and understanding and compassion, which I just wish we accurately saw that. That's why we're doing this show now, to get it out. My friend Tara gave a really good comment I want to talk about. She said, my son is scared of police officers. I don't know. He has autism. I don't know if it's autism, or I don't know if he has seen things. What advice would you give to Tara, and her son's in high school, I believe, to help with that fear so that her son isn't walking around terrified of police officers?
Engage with a police officer. Have him meet police officers. I mean, I don't know what community you live in. I'd be
I
lucky.
think she's in Floyd.
I would love to come meet your son.
Yeah.
Have come out and meet me. I mean,
So if
that's
he's
the-
at an event, and so if you guys are at an event, Tara, and you see a police officer, go up to the police officer first and say, hi, I'm Tara. Here's my son. He has autism and he's scared of cops. I'm wondering if you wouldn't mind talking to him and letting him know that you're here to protect him.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
we all the guys that I work with in Floyd County, we have a bunch of great guys, and I can tell you every single one of them would be just like me. They would love to meet your son and engage with him and talk to him and make sure that he feels safe. That's our goal. That's what we want to do. We want to make sure that everybody feels safe. We don't want people to be afraid of us.
Right.
So,
We don't want people to be afraid of you.
no.
That and like I know I'm lucky as a white woman to say all of my interactions with cops have been good.
Mhm.
What about for communities where they have had negative interactions? And I'm not saying it's with Floyd County cops. Maybe it's they've just seen negative stuff online, or maybe they've had a negative interaction when they've been pulled over or something. What would you say to them to help them get over this fear and realize not all cops are bad?
Like I said, it's engaging with other police officers. So you can't judge everyone based on what one person did or a small group minority of people that have done something wrong. You can't judge everybody else. Nobody else wants to be judged by the group that you hang with. Just you might hang with some bad people, but that doesn't mean Sarah's bad.
Right.
So I would just encourage them to meet the police officers in their community, even though they might have had a bad experience, go out there and talk to them, to talk to another one.
Right.
Meet them, engage in conversation with them, and get to know those people.
Now,
Tell them your story. Tell them the bad experience that you had to another cop, and let them tell you, oh yeah, this is how I would have dealt with it.
and be respectful too.
Yeah,
Don't
be
come up and
respectful.
yell at them and just
Absolutely.
so be respectful to them.
It's not going to go good if you come up to a cop and you're already
Upset about them.
upset and being accusatory and making remarks and saying all cops are bad. And I've actually seen that. People will have shirts on, they hate cops, and they're
Ugh.
never going to listen to cops and stuff like that. You're not going to get anywhere that way.
Right.
If you want to get anywhere and resolve any situation of any kind, you have to be willing to talk about it and have conversation about it. I also run a security company called Vigilant Security Group, and I work a lot of places over in Louisville, and
Oh,
a
that's
lot of
interesting.
places in the West End. And I can remember back when BLM was going on and things were bad, the Breonna Taylor thing was bad. And being a white cop in the West End, even though I'm not a cop over there, but people knew I was a cop, it was pretty rough. I had some people say a lot of bad things to me, but you know what? I endured it, and I didn't get upset because I put myself in their position, and I understand. But I would just have conversation with them.
So I appreciate that you don't hold hate for the community that happened. I went pretty extreme to the left during that time because it was during the pandemic and we were all kind of
Mhm.
more stuck at home, and I got myself out of it. But I hate the division that our media, our social media, they they really pump that out and into us and get us kind of a little bit programmed to believing things that aren't necessarily true. And so I'm getting messages of cops being bad, but I'm like, wait a minute, locally, the cops seem to be doing a pretty good job, So I was like, but of course we had the Louisville thing, the Breonna Taylor thing's terrible. That
Right.
shouldn't have happened.
Like I said, that was bad. But by me just engaging with people over there and having
But you didn't do
conversation,
it.
I didn't do
Just
it.
you didn't do it.
But I earned respect, and now any places I go down there, I'm treated like family. But it's because I was willing to have that conversation. You have to be willing to have that conversation as a police officer, and you can't get upset when people come at you with their fears. You have to try to put yourself in their
That's
situation
the whole
and understand
fear
their
thing.
fears,
Yes.
but then be willing to have a conversation about it. And by doing that, you get them to understand things as well. And that's how you bring people together. You just talk about it.
I'm going to show you all what I really like about Jason. I'm going to ask you a hard question that we already talked about before we went on air, and I want you to give the same response that you told me. I have a friend named Carly who had to leave Indiana because her county, which is not Floyd County, her county in Indiana had a cop stalking her and she didn't feel safe. And she went to the sheriff and she went to the prosecutor and she went to different people and nobody listened or tried to help. And so she moved to Texas to stay with a friend because she doesn't feel safe. This has nothing to do with you. This is a different county, you all. If someone came to you and said, one of your police officers, let's say that you're sheriff, one of your police officers is stalking me. And like the same thing with Carly. Carly has multiple times where the car is waiting for her to go to work and then follows her. What would you say? And this is for anybody. Let's say that they believe one of your cops has abused their power.
Mhm.
What would you do? Would you listen to them? What kind of steps would you take if
Well,
this
absolutely.
happens?
You're going to listen to them. I would probably actually have them come in and file a formal complaint for one. and then I'm going to open up an investigation. I don't want bad police officers working for me. I don't want police officers that are out stalking people and giving the police agency a bad reputation. So obviously, if it's proven and factual, that's what we have to get to. Is this actually going on for real?
So try to get proof
We
if
need
you're
proof.
being harassed
We have
or
to have
something. Get
proof. We
proof.
got to have evidence. An investigation is going to be done. And if it comes out that this police officer is doing those things, there's going to be reprimands, possibly even losing their job. It just, we have, we have to follow certain protocols and do things the right way. But yes, it's going to be dealt with. There's no way that I want a police officer out doing things like that in my community.
Because that shows your reputation too.
Right.
You're the head of that organization. You're going to want people being respectful in that name of the Floyd County Police Department. Okay.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I hope that makes people feel better. I am sad that the county that this is happening is not handling it right. And I've heard of multiple women coming out against them and they're not doing the right thing. So I would hope that they elect a better sheriff. Whenever it's up for election, let's get a better sheriff in, Yeah. So thanks for answering that. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about if you are sheriff, mental health wise. We realize now cops are seeing a lot of traumatizing events. You mentioned to me a lot of car wrecks. They're seeing violent things, kids getting hurt, like just what happened last week with the drowning. They're seeing terrible traumatizing events. If you were sheriff of Floyd County, how would you help? And what do you think we should do to help these police officers seeing this?
Well, first of all, so an average police officer in a 20-year career, and this could be a very low number, just depends on where you're at. Obviously, if you work in Chicago, a big city, this number would be way higher. But normally, on average, about 250 critical incidents in a 20-year career that a police officer will witness. An average person, to put that in perspective, an average person like yourself only sees a 1 to 2 in an entire lifetime.
I just want to say I've been in one car wreck and everybody survived and it was traumatizing on me. My car got destroyed. I got hit, but I was fine. And I was really surprised in how long it took me to recover.
And these numbers aren't just a car wreck. These are what I mean by traumatic incidents. These are like incidents where people probably lost their life, something major like that. So a police officer will experience 250 plus in a 20-year career when an average person does one or two. So, but there's a stigma around police officers getting help. So, like I said earlier, what we do on a daily basis when we respond to these incidents, we're not off duty yet, so we have to go do it to another call, to another.
So
call.
You could go to some traumatic event and then immediately go to something else. You don't have time to process.
You don't have time to process it, so you get home and then you don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Your partner's like, how was your day, dear? And you're like, well, you don't want to traumatize your partner. Exactly. You love them. So you say, fine.
And police officers, and I had this discussion the other day with the firefighter. Firefighters are together. They're in big groups. So when they leave, they have people to talk to. A police officer is by himself in his car.
Oh, that's interesting.
When he goes to these incidents, he's alone and he stays alone. You're alone your whole day unless you're at a scene with another officer. So they're very bad about talking about it. So the number one thing is to actually talk about it. That's the way you get over these incidents is you have to speak about it.
Right.
Police officers suppress that and don't ever do it. And their mental health, they're afraid. There's a stigma around police officers getting help. Police officers are afraid to ask for help because we have this mentality that's weakness. There's that stigma that, you're weak if you do that. And then they also are afraid of, well, if I say something, my peers might treat me differently. I could possibly lose my job. They might take my gun away from me. Mm-hmm. All these things go
because they might be having scary thoughts. Right. Like maybe they're having suicidal thoughts.
Suicidal thoughts, which on average about 185 to 200 police officers commit suicide each year.
Oh, that's so sad. Just in America?
Just in America. So it's a mental health thing that we definitely have to deal with, and we need to have more programs out there available for police officers, EAP programs.
What do you mean by EAP? What's that mean?
It stands for, I actually wrote that down.
Oh, good job.
Employee Assistance Program.
Oh, okay.
So they do counseling and different things like that. Even if you have drug addictions or programs, something like that, they will help set up for counselors. Peer programs, other officers can be trained to speak to the other officers. We can sit down and another police officer will be there with you to talk about it. And these are the type of programs that we need to implement. I'm on the critical incident team, like I said earlier. We do debriefings and defusings A debriefing is where when a critical incident occurs, and this is what we don't do enough of this as police agencies. I think every police agency should have a team, and we should do this after every critical incident. And you typically want to do it between 48 and 72 hours after the incident. It gives the officer time to kind of calm down a little bit and then think about it.
You know, it takes
So-
a day or two to just even relive what happened, because like stuff happens really quickly, right? Yeah, so that's a really good idea. So if you were sheriff, you would help use the budget to give more services towards the officers so that they're getting better mental health and trainings.
Absolutely. Peer programs. I think that something we don't do too that I would like to implement would be have an annual checkup with a therapist. We can have this therapist come to the police station every year and have all the officers come up and just talk to them, whether they think they need it or not.
Right.
Just to kind of talk to them, and it might open up a conversation. They may not need it at all, but at least it's there.
Could there be something where a cop says, I need therapy? Like, I just had this traumatic incident. I need therapy, and they just get it. Could that be something too?
Yeah,
Because I
absolutely.
mean, it just seems like you wouldn't know. It just because your job is unpredictable. You never know what thing you're going to be called to each day.
If a police officer comes to me right now on my shift and tells me that they need help, I'm going to do everything I can to help them. I'm going to reach out to the sheriff and see what programs we have available, whether it be Life Springs or whatever mental health services.
That's a therapy service, yeah.
Whatever health services that we have that we could go through. But yes, they definitely, it's something that you can't ignore.
No.
You can't let it go. There's police officers that have a hard time. I've had a hard time with certain things. A lot of people don't know, but I lost my wife.
I'm so
Breast
sorry.
cancer. My wife actually passed away in my arms.
Oh my gosh.
And there's certain things, and that's a traumatic experience. But there's certain things that I know that when I go deal with a situation now, especially if it's a death of a family member, I relate to them, which it kind of helps me because I can say that, hey, I do know what you're going through. I've experienced it. But a lot of things from that night when my wife passed away come back as triggers. There's triggers.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember certain smells in the room. I can remember sounds of medical equipment. Like I relive it every time I go do one.
Wow.
So I have to relive that. So police officers do that at every scene, like whether they want to talk about it or not. We see a lot of horrific incidents, and a lot of times we relive those incidents.
I'm seeing a lot of similarities to Brian Zimmerman, who is the Special Forces vet, and we do a show on Mondays. And he talks a lot about that too. And he's got so much going on in that brain of his, and sometimes he lets it out and sometimes he doesn't. But he can have a panic attack and not even notice. Like you don't know. He's just silently having one.
Well, I'm assuming he probably has PTSD.
Yeah. And he said the smells, the sounds, the certain things trigger what he went through in war, because he was in 2 wars.
PTSD is real. Like I said, I didn't go through any combat, but I understand PTSD.
Well, especially being on a cop for so long, you definitely have experienced stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's something, even in the military, back when I was in the Marine Corps, it was considered you were weak if you said anything. And I'm sure and I know that's gotten better from talking to people that are in now. They do have programs.
But we can still improve.
The 22 veterans a day that lose their life to suicide.
Oh, that's so sad.
It is sad, but it's one of those things that men have to understand that it's not a weakness. We have to get that out there. We get rid of that stigma. It is not a weakness. Please reach out for help. Talk to somebody, even if it's just a family member, but you cannot suppress that and hold it in.
You know what I know about suicide? It normally, when the person has the thought, it only takes on average 2.5 minutes to carry out the thought.
Yes.
So if you are listening to this and you ever have dark thoughts, call someone that loves you or call the suicide hotline. But call someone that loves you and tell them you're having scary thoughts so they can immediately reassure you what's going wrong. And we can keep you alive because, yeah. So the reason I had you on the mental fitness show and not the Get the Word Out show about you running for sheriff is you are mentally fit. I'm sure you're still growing and evolving and you're willing to do that. And that's sort of what makes you mentally fit. You've been a cop for a long time. You've been in the military. You've seen a lot of trauma and you're willing to talk about it. I appreciate that so much, especially that you're a guy, you know, it's so welcome. And that's sort of when I talked to you on the phone the first time, when I realized this is going to work, you coming on the show, because you're open and honest. And that's it's just such an important quality to have. There's so many guys I know that are suffering, that don't know how to open up. And I see it. I see them unhappy and they don't know how to say what they're feeling, what's in their head. They think it's not manly. And it's like, no, actually, this is what gets you to live a happy and successful life. You have to talk about it.
It does. You have to talk about it. I mean, even though it's uncomfortable, it is an uncomfortable topic, and nobody wants to seem vulnerable or weak.
But that's actually what makes you strong.
But that's what makes you strong.
That's what, like, that's why I'm
You're a
literally
stronger
the
person.
strongest person I've ever met. Brian Zimmerman has giant arm muscles,
Yes.
and he's openly talking about his
Yes.
mental struggles. And I'm like, maybe this will help men see that they can be open and honest. And then you, a police officer running for sheriff, you are willing to openly talk about things when they are hard, because you have witnessed so many sad and violent and scary instances. It's just so important, and I really appreciate that about you. Okay, what else do you want to talk about? What things have we missed?
Whatever you want to talk about.
I know.
I don't have. We just talked. The biggest thing that I wanted to get on here and portray, and I don't know if I've done a good enough job at that.
I think you've done a good job.
Is that police officers aren't evil. We are people too. Yes, we make mistakes. We're human. Accountability is big. I think if once the police departments can actually show accountability for things that police officers have done, and public see that police officers are being held accountable, that'll earn that some of that trust back. But that's the biggest thing that I wanted to come on the show today, is to show people that, hey, we are human too. We're just like you, and there's no reason we all can't love one another. You know what I mean? And it's getting out there and just talking to people and making those communications with one another, and just learning the cultures of the people and different things like that. I think that all goes a long way. But just have conversation.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Just truly just have conversation.
So literally, wherever you are watching this from, you're at an event, you see a police officer, go up and start a conversation with them. This is how we stop the fear in our communities between the police and the people. And also, I try to always say thank you for protecting us, because your job is scary. You're getting income to protect us. You are putting your life on the line. Somebody could have a gun in that glove compartment when you pull them over. It is scary. Whenever you get involved in a domestic abuse fight or whatever, you are getting in scary situations. Like you said, this is how a lot of
Absolutely.
cops have been hurt, which is
when you engage with an officer, the biggest things that we look for is your hands. Please
show us your hands.
Keep your hands out of your pockets. Those are we don't know what's in your pockets. We just ask you, when you speak to us, when you're approaching us in uniform, to please just keep your hands to where we can see them. That's what we're looking for. It's for our safety. It's not, we're not trying to be mean to you. I've had to tell people that some people will just naturally put their hands in their pockets, and we'll say, sir, keep your hands out of your pockets. Right. And they'll do it again while you're talking to them, and they keep doing it. And we may have to tell them 4 or 5 times. And I've had people actually get mad
because they're nervous.
I've had people get mad at me for saying that. Just keep your hands out of your pockets. Well, I'm not doing anything. It's not about that. I haven't patted you down right now.
Right. You don't know if there's a weapon in there. Right.
And I'm just trying to be safe. I want to go home to my family at the end of the day. You know what I mean? And so it's little things like that. Just.
And then on my end, I was talking to you about it. If you do become the Floyd County Sheriff, or whoever is our next sheriff, even the sheriff now, I really encourage transparency. We have social media. You have your own accounts on Facebook and everything. You can let us know the positive things you're doing. You don't have to say the people, and then you can also give us tips like that. Just want to let everybody know, when we come up to you, please don't put your hands in your pocket. Please do this thing. Mm-hmm. There can be a certain amount of education and of just telling us what's going on to lessen the fear.
One of the things I would like to do would be have open forums, like little small town hall events, to where maybe once a month, meet with the public, and anybody's invited, and you come up there and just tell us your concerns. Tell us what we could do better in the county, or if it's just questions like that. How do we interact with cops? What should we do if we're getting pulled over? Those are all discussions that we would have during those. And I will tell you, we just said it. If you do get pulled over, the biggest thing is don't be reaching around inside your car, grabbing things out of the glove box, reaching under your seat. things like that, the best thing to do is keep your hands on the wheel. The police officer is going to come tell you driver's license, registration. Those are what we're taught. Those are the things that we need to get from you. At that time, if you have a gun in the car, please tell us. I do, hey, sir, I have a weapon in the car, but don't go reach for it.
Don't reach for it. Don't
I've
show them. Just
I've actually
tell
had a
'em.
guy one time, sir, yeah, I got a gun. It's right here. And he grabbed it. Of course, my gun come out and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing?
So say you have whatever
just
weapon you have,
tell us,
say it.
absolutely. Just
That's a good idea.
tell us where it's at without reaching for anything. We're not gonna slam you on the ground or do none of that. I'm just gonna say,
Just
okay,
remember, they're scared of their life.
right. I'm gonna tell you, hey, I appreciate you for letting me know that you have a weapon in the car. Just do me a favor. I'm gonna get your driver's license registration. Just keep your hands on the wheel where I can see them while I check your information. That gun's not a problem unless you grab it. You know what I'm saying? So it's little things like that that you can do to make your interaction with police a lot easier and safer for all of us.
I hope
So-
this made you all feel better. Also, I hope you realize how important it is that you pay attention to your sheriff race, that you know the candidates and you don't just vote blindly for whichever political party you align with. Go ahead and listen to them. I've already asked you some of my fears on this show, and then I've told you some of my others off this show, which we'll talk about later on another when we have you back. But I just really appreciate your willingness to have hard conversations. I think whoever's going to be sheriff of a county should openly answer hard questions because you're in charge of protecting our community. It is such an important job. And I just think the secrecy is where some of the fear comes from. Some of it comes from our media and our news, and some of it comes from, well, we're not getting told what's going on. Do you know Jerry Gooden? He's the sheriff, isn't he, of Scott County?
Scott County, yes.
I know his twin brother
Okay.
because he ran for lieutenant governor.
Yeah.
And I know he does stuff where he'll be more open and honest and just talk about things. And I really like the way he does things. So I might see if he'll come on the show and give us his, how do you be transparent when you're a sheriff of a county? And then I can learn some, because my whole goal is to unite the community.
Absolutely. That's what we should do. And I want everybody to know out here that's listening today that my number's out there. You can reach me at any time. If you have a question about anything, I would love to talk to you about any questions that you may have. Even meet you in person.
I was given your number.
Yeah.
I texted you, and that day, it was like an hour later, you called me.
Yeah.
So that is true. You do, like, you will talk. And then we talked about hard stuff, and I was like, oh yeah, you'd be great on the show. Yeah. So yeah, reach out, talk any police officer you see in your community, talk to them. I would thank them for protecting us. And then just realize, if you're only seeing the bad people doing the bad things, it can skew our mind to think that everyone is bad. And every cop is not bad.
Absolutely.
And every cop is not great. But I'm going to say the majority of them, you're meeting them. You're telling me the majority of the cops are good.
My department, absolutely. I would say in Floyd County, we have a bunch of great guys. And
I don't really hear negative stories, honestly, about Floyd County. So I'm happy about that. Yeah. Louisville's a different story. We won't touch on that today.
There's also thousands of officers.
There's a lot more people. Yeah. There's so many police officers because it's needed in every single community. And like, I'm friends with our town marshal. Our town marshal's great. I really care about this guy that does everything he can to protect Palmyra. So yeah, I just keep having positive interactions, but also I'm going out and talking to them and getting to know them. So that's part of it. It's an interaction.
I'm fortunate to live in Floyd County because Floyd County, for the most part, the people, I think that they do like the police officers in Floyd County.
I think that is
and we do have a pretty good relationship with the people in our community, but there are a few that don't. There's people that don't like us, and sometimes it doesn't matter how hard you try, you just can't convince people to like you. Sometimes people just have their mind made up that cops are bad, and there's nothing you can say or do to change that. But that's unfortunate.
I'm saying I don't think
because there are a lot of great police officers out there.
Right.
Some are great people, and it's unfortunate that you're that close-minded that you're not willing to go out there and engage with one of them and give them a chance. Just give us a chance. That's all we ask.
Deep, but I really think the way bullies and bad people control us is they shine a light on a time when we're not perfect, and they're like, you shouldn't do this because this one time you messed up. You're not perfect. You haven't done everything 100% the way you would on the job, but you're doing the best you can and you're trying. I'm not perfect. We have to realize there are people that try to bully us and try to shame us when we're not 100% perfect, but humans aren't perfect.
No, there's a saying that I had in my office, and I think it came from Vince Lombardi, football coach.
Okay.
And it says, perfection is unattainable, but if you chase perfection, you will catch excellence.
So you're trying, because your job is so important, you're trying to be perfect on the job.
You try, but you can't be. Nobody ever will be.
Yeah, Brian said
We
this
all-
on Special Forces too.
make-
They had to be
We all
like,
make mistakes. And like I think I told you earlier, sometimes things happen in the heat of the moment. Police officers don't have time to
stop and
to
analyze.
think about what they're getting ready to do, because some things happen just so quick and people just react. And yes, there's police officers after they done it and they go back and look and see how they did. They even think themselves, man, I wish I'd have done things differently. But in the moment, with the information that I had and how quick things evolved, that's how I did it. That's how I responded. And it may not be that great, but the public want to, armchair quarterback everything, and they have time to process and read about what happened and make a decision. You have to keep in mind the police officer has to make that decision in a split second.
And that's why I support trainings. You all should get many, many trainings, especially you have had a lot of things happen in your 20 years of being a cop. You can train the cops yourself, just like give them trainings about this. When this situation, it's better to do this in this situation. So I support training police officers with many tools.
Because what you just brought up is a great point that I'm going to bring up, because a lot of people were talking about defunding the police. Defunding the police is the most idiotic thing I've ever heard of. If you want better police officers, you can't defund it. Defunding means you're taking away funds from them. You're taking away training. You're taking away money. How are you going to get better police officers if you give lower wages? How are you going to get better police officers if you give them less training? If anything, instead of talking about defunding the police, you need to talk about how do we get more money to the police for better training,
Right.
better officers. That's what we need. Defunding does not work. It's not going to work anywhere.
Yeah.
I promise you that. So if you want better police officers, better training, let's look at higher wages and better training facilities for them.
That's an important thing. And in Indiana, something we could talk about later, there's a lot of defunding. There's defunding public education that's happening right now. And I do not support that. And I support police being funded, especially for training, especially for mental health, and just giving them all the tools needed. I know whenever the Black Lives Matter thing was going on, I heard people say, well, we should have a therapist go to these domestic abuse situations and they should handle it because they're trained. And it's like, well, these domestic violent situations that are happening are not safe for that person to go. Maybe next step later on, but the first one needs to be a police officer that can protect if someone is being hurt by someone else. So I get what they were saying, but in the real world, the police are going to usually be the first people showing up.
It's a good concept, a good idea. It's just not safe.
It's not safe for that person. Who's going to want to do that job? I wouldn't feel safe going into. Now, I could understand maybe they're saying going with a police officer. Maybe I don't
really
know.
Wouldn't want to take you in my car and have you come into a heated.
Because that's going to put you more at risk.
Because now, I've got to protect myself, and now I got to protect you,
right.
And I'm still trying to protect even them.
See, this is interesting because I wouldn't think of this.
So my goal is to protect everybody. So the more people at the scene, the more people I got to protect. So that's a great idea, to talk to therapists and things maybe after the fact, or if it's a situation that is calm, it's not a raging domestic, and the police officer's already gone to the scene, kind of controlled the scene, and then you want to bring somebody in like that. That might be an idea.
So maybe we should work with the police officers that are experts. I would consider you an expert in this, to find out the best way to handle these situations. I kind of am thinking of the person that's getting abused, and I would think they need tools.
Yeah,
they need tools besides just the cop coming there. What happens next? You diffuse the situation. Well, how do we protect the people so this doesn't happen next time? And that's not necessarily your job, but it's something that maybe the public could think about and talk about. And that's why we need people having good conversations. I just want to show you, look, Republican sheriff, person running for sheriff, Democrat running for state house, friends,
Right. Yeah.
This is possible. Don't believe the people that tell you I'm a scary person. I'm not going to believe that people that come at me and say you're a scary person. We have the same goal, and that is uniting our community. And that's why you're welcome on Project Next. So I hope you come back. I want you to meet Brian. I think you guys could have a really
Sure,
interesting
absolutely.
conversation about trauma and violent things and how you all handle it. You know, you don't need to talk about the trauma, but talk about the mental. What do you do to be able to live a happy life after seeing such things or being involved in such things? I think that would be really interesting conversation. I know Tim wants to come on, Tim Peck, and talk to you, and he's so thankful that you came on our show. Brave. So that's another. So honest, open, brave, good person, not perfect, me either. And yeah, so thank you guys. If you would please share the show, I'll show you how to share the show on your stuff. You have a Facebook page, right?
I sure do. Right
What
on
is it?
Facebook page. I have just my Jason Kerberg page. This is my personal page. And then I have a page, Jason Kerberg for Floyd County Sheriff. Those are my two pages I have. So get
think
on
I
there,
put-
like and share. I would greatly appreciate it.
And then you're going to be out in the community. So if you live in Floyd County and you go to events, chances are you're going to see you.
Absolutely. Actually, if I can tell you right now that May 22nd, I haven't put it out there yet. This will be the first time I put it out there. So
Okay, May
May
22nd.
22nd, I'm having a meet and greet in Georgetown at a place called The Spot. It's a small little venue, only holds about 100 people. Going to have some hors d'oeuvres. I'm going to be actually doing a raffle on a little 22 rifle. If any of those little kids like to squirrel hunt or anything like that, it'd be a good little thing for you to have. But going to have just a meet and greet. So if anybody just wants to come out and meet me in person, would love to have you show up that night, May 22nd, 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m.
5:30 to 7:30, May 22nd at the Spot in Georgetown.
That's it.
That sounds nice. And follow him on Facebook, and please share the show. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We will have Jason on again, and then we have other shows where we're just trying to unite our community. And a big part of that is letting people know on the Republican end that I am not a scary person, because
She's not at all. She's actually very nice.
that's a rumor that I am constantly trying to debunk over here, because some people in Harrison County don't like me just because I spotlight the truth. I'm like, well, you are doing this, and they're like, oh, she's so scary. I'm like, no, I'm just accurately saying what you're doing. You know,
Just because you're with different parties and you might have different political views, we might not agree on a lot of
we
things.
definitely don't agree on
That doesn't
everything,
mean we
but
can't
yeah.
be friends and like each other. So
Yeah,
we'll
we
say that.
really lost that with the internet and with people profiting off of our division. We've really lost that, and we have to fight to get it back. And it's worth it, the fight. Our community is worth it. Keeping our community safe is worth it. And just, I would like to thank all police officers that put their life on the line to protect us. Thank you for running for sheriff. I'm excited about this race. We'll see if Steve Bush wants to come on. He's invited. He is the current sheriff of Floyd County, and he will be running again. So you'll be up against him at the primary, which is in a year in May. And then I'll see if the two of you want to come on and have some type of organized, friendly debate where we could just hear, what would you do differently?
Mhm.
We could just ask clear cut, so you know exactly who to vote for when you go on the primary, which I think is important.
Sure.
So be looking for a lot more things to come. And I am a big proponent of, big supporter of primaries. Pick the best person.
Thank you very much for having me on your show. I greatly appreciate it.
And we'll have you on again. Yeah. Thanks for coming. Yeah. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful day.